Hello, and welcome to Buddha Zen Wisdom. We are here with you every day to provide guidance and share wisdom. Today, let's dive into an important topic that affects families as they age. The greatest disaster a family can face is not necessarily poverty, but rather the occurrence of three key situations that can arise when people reach their 70s and beyond. These situations, although not often discussed openly, hold the potential to create significant distress within families. You may have heard a saying that as one reaches a certain age, the quality of life becomes more about family than anything else. Having a peaceful and harmonious family environment is far more important than wealth. A family that gets along, where everyone is happy and content, truly surpasses material riches. If you stop and think about it, this is absolutely true. Imagine a family where everyone is constantly arguing, where there's no peace or tranquility. In such an environment, wealth only seems to bring more trouble and conflict. The old saying goes, when there is harmony in the family, everything prospers. This rings true for most people as they grow older. The greatest challenge a family can face is not poverty, but the breakdown of familial relationships and the disconnect that may arise among loved ones as they age. As you get older, it becomes more apparent that aging can bring about specific issues that many families do not anticipate. The first major situation is when aging parents are ignored by their children, particularly when the parents fall ill. This situation is something I personally came across in a case study that left me feeling deeply sorrowful. It involved a father who, nearing the end of his life, only left a small amount of money to his biological daughter. The vast majority of his estate went to someone else, a person who had taken care of him in his later years, his caregiver. Initially, this father and daughter had a close relationship. However, as time passed, their bond began to fray. The daughter became more distant after her marriage. She went from calling once a week to once a month, and eventually, it was months between calls. As time went on, she would only visit her father once every few months or even once every 6 months. When the father fell ill and was hospitalized, he spent his days waiting for her to visit. But over a span of 3 months, she only came twice, and her visits were brief. Even when he was discharged from the hospital and returned home to recover, she did not visit. What he received instead were brief visits from his caregiver. In his final days, the father was filled with sorrow and regret. He lamented that in his final months, the person who provided him with the most care and attention wasn't his daughter, but his caregiver. He had been overlooked by the one person he had hoped would be there for him in his final years. So, when it came time to divide his estate, he made the decision to leave most of it to the caregiver as a thank you for her kindness and companionship during his time of need. This story, although it may seem like an isolated incident, is not all that uncommon. Many people, when they reach a certain age, become painfully aware that their children are not always there when they need them most. It is important to remember that time is fleeting, and we must not take our parents for granted. We may assume that they will always be there, but the truth is, life is fragile, and we cannot predict when our loved ones may no longer be by our side. If you still have the opportunity, cherish the moments you have with your parents, and make sure to spend time with them while you can. Another challenging situation arises when siblings become estranged, leading to constant arguments and tension within the family. I was recently watching a film that dealt with a family whose relationships were strained, much like what we see in many families. In the film, the grandmother, who had 3 children, was deeply troubled by the fact that her children could never get along. Her oldest son was financially well off but spent all his time in the stock market, rarely checking in on his mother. The second daughter was struggling financially, raising her child on her own. She, however, made it a point to visit her mother regularly. The youngest son, spoiled and irresponsible, had developed an addiction to gambling and would often ask his mother for money. The differences in the children's financial situations made it difficult for them to unite as a family, and this caused the grandmother great distress. As time went on, her health began to deteriorate, and the family dynamic became even more strained. When she was diagnosed with cancer, her children, instead of coming together to support her, began to argue over her estate. The grandmother, on the other hand, focused all her energy on arranging a beautiful cemetery plot for herself, something that confused and upset her children. Her grandchildren asked her why she was so focused on this cemetery, and she explained that she wanted her descendants to prosper and be successful. She hoped that when people visited her grave, they would think highly of her children and grandchildren for being so devoted. She longed for her children to come together and show love and care for one another in her final days, even if only to honor her memory. In this way, the grandmother's last wish was not just for peace, but for a reunion that would bring her family back together, even if it was only in spirit after her passing. The third situation is when children are spoiled and lack the values that would normally be passed down through generations. This is a problem that has plagued many families throughout history. It is often said that wealth and prosperity can only last for 3 generations, and this is especially true when those generations are not grounded in moral principles. The famous philosopher Mencius once stated that moral teachings passed down through families can last for over 10 generations, while wealth and material success can only last for a short time before it is lost. This serves as a warning to families who rely solely on financial wealth without building a strong foundation of ethics and values. In the TV series So Far So Good, there is a character named Sumingcheng, who is a prime example of a spoiled child. Throughout his life, Sumingcheng received preferential treatment from his mother, who indulged him in nearly everything. This constant pampering led him to become selfish and ungrateful. His mother even went so far as to take money from his sister's savings to support him. This created a sense of entitlement in Sumingcheng, and as an adult, he continued to rely on his parents for financial support. When he lost money in a failed investment, he turned to his elderly father for help. When his father refused, Sumingcheng threw a tantrum, completely ignoring the struggles his father was facing. This scene in the show made many viewers reflect on the dangers of unconditional love that does not teach children the values of gratitude and independence. Over time, Sumingcheng began to understand the consequences of his actions, and he slowly started to take responsibility for his family and his own life. His journey toward maturity highlighted an important lesson for all of us. True love is not about giving children everything they want, but about teaching them to be responsible, grateful, and self-sufficient. The moral teachings that are passed down in families are the foundation for a prosperous and harmonious life. Families should work together to nurture the next generation, not just financially, but in terms of character and values. As the saying goes, a harmonious family is the foundation of success in life. A warm and loving family requires the effort of everyone involved. Life, after all, is about coming together, supporting each other, and creating moments of happiness and warmth, especially as we age. It is essential that we work together to maintain the peace and unity of the family so that we can enjoy the comfort of each other's presence in our later years. In conclusion, we must remember that no matter what age we are, it is never too late to show love, care, and respect for our families. We should not wait until it is too late to appreciate what we have, because time moves quickly, and the opportunity to make things right may not always be there. As we grow older, let's focus on nurturing our family relationships, making time for the people we love, and leaving behind a legacy of kindness, respect, and gratitude. Thank you for watching today's video. We hope that the stories shared here have touched your heart and given you something to reflect on. If you haven't subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button so that we can continue to accompany you every day with more wisdom and insights. Let's grow together, find happiness together, and grow old together. Until next time, take care, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.